Was Becky Lynch really a horrible friend to Charlotte Flair? We are going to talk about this whole thing, guys. Tune into the locker room. We about to air some dirty laundry. Now, it was currently been an A&E Rivals episode on the A&E network, which was Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Now, it talked about the whole thing where they were friends and Becky was under Charlotte, being her sidekick, up until when Becky Lynch started going to the main event scene, up until her rise in 2019, with her becoming the man. It went in the first ever WrestleMania women's main event with Becky defeating Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 35. It's like the bigger the star Becky became, the bigger the animosity was created between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Now, once that happened, we saw Charlotte and Becky. They had the rivalry back in 2018 with Becky first trying to become the man. That didn't work. Becky got cheered, became the man. 2019, up to Becky 2 belts. And then later, we saw Becky and Charlotte. They feuded for a while, then they were on separate shows. Now, somehow these two crossed paths once again, but it was at the 2021 draft. Then we saw the whole thing with Becky and Charlotte got drafted to opposite shows of Raw and SmackDown, but they had to swap belts up until when Charlotte accidentally dropped the belt when she's supposed to give it to Becky, and it was Becky that was upset through the belt. Charlotte, if you guys remember, and then Charlotte, she talks about in the documentary saying it was an accident, but we gonna see what Charlotte Flair soon is going to have what to say during the documentary.
Like, I've had body image issues my whole life. And if anyone knows how hard I worked, it's her. I felt used, like, as a friend.
And admittedly, I went too far on like social media and all that kind of stuff, but I was trying to make it as real as possible and wanted the crowd to care as much as they possibly could. But sometimes I can go a bit far. People can get very, very upset at me.
Woo! Ah, shut your face, you dope! You plastic face dope!
You plastic face dope. I didn't know she was gonna say that. So she made calling me plastic and the fans body shaming me cool. Rivalry coming out and you look at them and you like think, like, my dad's 78, now the rivalry is being talked about. For me, it's like, it's incredible that Becky and I have this platform to talk about the incredible rivalry that we had due to the pivotal moment in the business for women, for us, and what we mean to each other's careers. Like, there wouldn't be the man without the queen, and there wouldn't be the queen without the man. But I don't think it's over. I think this is just the beginning. So I think people are just getting, if they're a new fan, they're just getting a taste of what Becky versus Charlotte looked like. But to me, it's like, no, I want to see what's next. I don't think there's like, you look at Macho Man and my dad, like, they're 70 something. We're,
Yeah. It's funny because, like, now you guys are such established veterans, multiple time champions. Is it a bit difficult to look back on it? Sometimes I can't even look at a previous episode I did with Branson because I'm like, oh man, that was rough.
Yeah, it's years go by.
Yeah.
We change, and looking back, it can be difficult.
Yeah.
Well, even like, and I was talking about this with someone earlier, when I did the sit-down interviews for this episode, I was actually out on injury. So I was like so depressed, so emotional, which I have no idea what the episode's going to look like and what it's going to look like and what they're going to take from the actual interview. But I was in like such a negative, bad spot. But when I look back, I get like, oh, this is so cringe. Like, why did I do that? But what I do remember from the rivalry with Bex is like, it made me the performer I am today. Now, I would have done everything different, and I don't think I even got a gear change until I faced Ronda after Becky had turned on me at SummerSlam, and then I faced Ronda at Survivor Series due to Becky, the infamous punch, and I was her replacement for the match. But I just look back and I go, I learned so much from that feud, and I am where I am today.
Now, that was Charlotte Flair. She was on the documentary. She felt that Becky used, Charlotte when she was getting enhancements done to her body in the plastic surgery, that she used that to gain advantage, and she used Charlotte, her friendship with Charlotte to get over. However, I know Charlotte was upset in that documentary. You guys can check it out, A&E. Now, also later on, a recent interview with TMZ and TMZ Sports, Charlotte Flair also said that during the time of the interview, remember, this was back when Charlotte Flair was out with the ACL, MCL, and meniscus injury back in late 22 and the whole 2023, that she was at the time depressed. She was emotional. She was going through a lot. She had an injury she was trying to recover from, her divorce from Andrade. Pretty sure they was going through that separation, and then divorce later on. So there's a lot going on. So when she said she was depressed and she said she was feeling negative, I think Charlotte Flair embellished on what she was saying about Becky Lynch. Now, online people are saying that Becky Lynch is the enemy. She was a horrible friend of Charlotte and she used her. I don't believe that's the case. I believe Becky was being genuine to Charlotte at that particular time. I think when Becky became the man in her rise to stardom in WWE, and becoming at one point the top merchandise seller, or at least one of the top merchandise sellers in the company, I think Charlotte Flair, she got jealous. She was hating on Becky, mad because Charlotte Flair was so used to being the top between her and Becky. Becky has surpassed Charlotte. She was the top merchandise seller. She was the top woman. I mean, she was even on the cover of WWE 2K20 alongside Roman Reigns. Something that no woman had not done at the time. Way before Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley got on the cover, she was like the first woman on the cover. So she did a lot of monumental stuff. And I think Charlotte Flair just couldn't take it. And that's what led to animosity with the swap change back in 2021. And it just boiled over. I mean, it's been going on for quite some time. Now, we know in modern day, currently today, that things have got better between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, but I don't think it's never going to be the same like it was before. Now, granted, Becky Lynch is a married woman now. She's married to Seth Rollins, and she has a daughter now to take care of. She has her own family. But if you guys know, in WWE, after this whole thing with Charlotte Flair, after that friendship fell apart, Becky really don't mess with nobody in WWE no more. As far as the women-wise hanging out, she don't do that no more. She just to herself and to her family. I don't think she trusts anybody like that anymore after this whole dissolution of the friendship between herself and Charlotte Flair. But everybody online thinks that Becky is the enemy, and no. Now, I know Becky Lynch is a heel right now. Some people even call her annoying character with her gimmick and holding the Women's Intercontinental Championship. That's one side. And I know Charlotte Flair, however, she is a very loved babyface alongside being a tag team with Alexa Bliss. And I know this is the most people have ever liked Charlotte Flair, not just now, but her entire career. So it's easy to run a narrative that Charlotte Flair was done wrong and Becky Lynch was out here using people and manipulating people just to get to the top. I don't think that's the case. Now, no woman's perfect. There were some things that Charlotte Flair did do wrong. There were some things that Becky Lynch did wrong. But it's been completely one-sided to make it feel like Becky was such the horrible person between her and Charlotte. And that's totally not the case here. That's not the way I've seen it. I watched the whole A&E Rivals between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. And it's nothing like that they make it to seem. Now, I will say that the friendship is not, like I said, not the same it was. I know Charlotte Flair also talked about how the rivalry between her and Becky Lynch is far from over and it's just the beginning. No, that's over. We've seen Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch wrestle enough. They have wrestled over a championship. They have wrestled in a last woman standing match. They have wrestled at WrestleMania in a triple threat. They also have wrestled as Survivor Series champion versus champion back in 2021, in which Becky Lynch did defeat Charlotte Flair. The only thing they have not done is wrestle one-on-one at WrestleMania. They wrestled WrestleMania, but not one-on-one. But I don't think most of us fans that follow Charlotte or Becky or both of them, I don't think that's something we want to see as fans. I think that time has passed and it's time to move on. And Becky and Charlotte's at the downside of their careers right now. Charlotte's being a tag team on SmackDown, and Becky is holding a mid-card championship right now. There's no more you could do with these two. Both of them had great careers. Charlotte Flair, 14-time world champion. Becky Lynch, 7-time world champion. It's just nothing more they could do. But with the rivalry, it got personal real quick, and it's just another thing that the issue with Becky and Charlotte between them also, it's just it's just simple egos. Becky, her ego's up there. She has it. Charlotte ego's up there. They're literally the same thing. They both want to be the best. They both want to be at the top. When you have two women like that, especially in the wrestling industry, where it's ego-driven based, it's going to be chaos at the end of the day. And that's what it became. But both these women have came up with in the NXT and everything else, but things will never be the same like they were before between Charlotte and Becky. If you guys notice, that's why they're both on separate shows. We always saw Becky on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, mostly Monday Night Raw, and Charlotte Flair we always saw on SmackDown, or she was on Monday Night Raw. They never keep these two on the same show, especially after the title swap back in 2021. They always keep these two separate. Now, some people could say it's because they both have star power, they both top names. That's one argument. I can agree with that, but it's because of the animosity. And to avoid that, it's best to keep Charlotte and Becky on separate shows. Now, I know they reunited. They was on the same team for Survivor Series back, 2024, 2025? I know they reunited for a little bit. They hugged each other, hugged it out and everything, but they know, hey, we good, we all right, but we're never going to be close again. We're never going to be close. They'll never be close again. I don't believe that between Charlotte and Becky because of everything that's happened. If you guys remember, another reason what caused a rift between Charlotte and Becky, it was already a lot of tension already. The man gimmick with, Ric Flair. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Ric Flair, Charlotte's dad. He took that trademark and it was forced WWE and Becky Lynch not to use the man gimmick anymore at the particular time. That really caused a rift between Charlotte and Becky, and that's where Becky switched to big time Bex. If you guys remember, she was not going with the man anymore, couldn't use that gimmick anymore, and that's why, because that whole situation there. Now, Ric Flair will later on go on and give the gimmick back and sell the trademark back to Becky Lynch and WWE, and he would go as far as to apologize to both Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins for the whole situation. But like I said, it still has been the same between Becky and Charlotte since then. That's been some years now. But this is one of the most personal rivalries I've seen between two women in WWE. Now, when we think of women rivalries, we think of Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. We think of the whole, back in the day, Lita and Trish. But I think Charlotte Flair and Becky, it couldn't get any more personal than that. It couldn't get any more personal. This is not just a friend turn enemies, but this is a real life friends who turn to real life enemies, similar to Triple H and Shawn Michaels back in the mid 2000s. It's similar to that. But I would say both women, they're still doing their thing in WWE. They're both going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. They're both going to be considered, legendary. But we'll see what happens later on in their careers. Could we see these two cross paths again when it comes to Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair? That remains to be seen. I'm not sure if they're going to have them cross paths again one last time before both women call it a career. Becky Lynch is currently on said it's her last contract. Charlotte Flair, she's going to keep going. But you don't know. You just don't know if this is going to be it. But they continue to go on a separate paths and do their own thing. And, we'll see. But I don't think we need to see another Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. I don't think we need to see that again. It not something the fans will be into. I think there could be a lot more other matches with. It's just so many women on the roster now. You don't have to limit to a Charlotte versus Becky. Unless it's a real big story, you can add some layers to it. But it all depends on creative and everything else for that matter. We'll have to see. But I know that rivalry thing, it was a good rivalry on A&E documentary between Becky and Charlotte. You guys should check it out. But other than that, that's it for the whole Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair rivalry. How these two became real life friends, hanging on the road from NXT, and then this became a real life rivalry where the two just could not stand each other, couldn't be in the same room at one point. I don't know what you guys let me know what you think of this whole situation between Charlotte and Becky and Charlotte on the documentary. Was Charlotte exaggerating what she said about Becky, or was Becky really a lousy friend of Charlotte Flair and using her to further her career? Was Becky Lynch really a horrible friend to Charlotte Flair? You guys check out the 2 links below to other videos. Also check out the other content. Hype up the video you can. And of course, guys, you already know what it is at this point. It's OUT.